Thanks for tuning in to the Charles Novell School of Music podcast, The Best Day Yet. Here you'll find tips, insight, and information to help your music and your ministry succeed. Whether you're a singer, a musician, or a songwriter, we want to help you where you are, but we also want to help you get to where you want to go. We believe that our talents are God's gift to us, but what we do with those are our gift back to God. Yesterday's information is important, but what we can learn today will make this the best day yet. The Charles Novell School of Music will be coming to Arkansas this fall, October 10th and 11th, for a Friday evening and all-day Saturday training opportunity. During the weekend, you can study voice, instrumentation, songwriting, performance, social media, and more. Private lessons are also available during the weekend, where once again you can study in your area of emphasis. CNS will also be coming to Cincinnati, Ohio this November 14th and 15th, once again for a Friday night and all-day Saturday training opportunity. CNS is the place to ask the right person the right question to get the right answer. We want to see you succeed in your music and in your ministry. You can find out more information and register for these events by visiting us at www.cnsmusic.com. We hope to see you there. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the CNS podcast, The Best Day Yet. This is Rob Novell, your host today. I'm so excited to be here. I'm always excited to do this. I love CNS. I love everything that is CNS. And I love getting to be the influence. I love how CNS has been helping people for decades and continues to do so. So super excited to be here today. And we started last week, we talked on how to foster creativity. So we're going to take that a little bit further today. And a couple things just before we dive into things. Let's see, Sunday, August the 31st. Sunday the 31st was my father's birthday. And, man, I can't help but, I miss him. I really miss him. But, with the subject that we're on with creativity, I just got to thinking about my dad and how he helped me in this area. I think one of the most important things when I look back to my musical training with my dad, a lot of influences, a lot of outside influences, but absolutely my dad was my biggest mentor, teacher, and inspiration as a musician. What I find myself doing today would not be taking place had it not been for the investment that my dad made into me. And when I was thinking of him over the weekend, honoring his birthday, I think of so many creative moments that my dad had in his music and his career. Dad was an extremely gifted pianist. If you have heard my father, I don't even need to reinforce that comment. You know that. If you haven't, man, I would encourage you. We have my dad's music's out on Apple Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube Music, YouTube. You can search Charles Novell and hear what my dad did there at the piano. I have used this example many a times talking about my dad. When my dad would sit down to the piano, it was like an artist or my father sitting down to a blank canvas, and 3.5 minutes later, there was a beautiful picture that he had created. And when we talk about creativity in the arts and within our music, there's so many parallels. My dad had something I did not have. My dad was an amazing artist. He did oil painting, and I have in my home. I have several of the pictures that he had painted, and that's part of the reason I use that little analogy in describing what my dad did. But we're going to talk today ways to find. I'm going to give 4 points a little later, ways to find creativity. But right out of the chute today with creativity, I kind of want to revisit the definition that we gave last week and re-emphasize that today. The dictionary says that creativity is the use of imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of an artistic work. So music, we fall within that artistic category or column with what we do musically. My dad, again, kind of connected the dots on the visual arts side of things with his music. So I think that a lot of my dad's creativity that, again, I was reflecting on over the weekend came from sources outside, actually, of his music. And as we talk a little later today about, or in today's episode, we're going to be talking about finding your inspiration. And I think there are so many ways that we can look to foster our creativity, as we talked about last week, from some of maybe the most unthought of places. I love the story in the Bible, and I always get this wrong. Y'all don't judge me. I'm not here to teach you how to preach. I'm here to teach you music. But I always get Elijah and Elisha confused. So I think it was Elijah. And if you need to correct me, www.cnsmusic.com. Send me the email. I'll read it. I'll respond to it. If it's nice, I'll respond to it. But no, looking for God. And it wasn't in the earthquake. It wasn't in the fire. It wasn't in the big. It was in that still small voice. So many times God will speak to us through areas that we don't expect. And whole other little series. It's a sermon I teach, but the title is Expect the Unexpected. I think as we're looking to foster creativity in our music, we need to be looking for that inspiration to come from sources that we would not necessarily think that it would come from. So we're going to that's a little tease as to where we're heading today. But I do believe this, 100%, because I have people, I'll give you some examples here in a minute. I have people all the time tell me that they do not see themselves as a creative individual. And I 100% beg to differ with that. All musicians, including drummers, are creative. That's my bass player's stab at drummers today. But no, all musicians are creative. And if you feel you're not, you know what? You just literally need to make an effort to embrace creativity. I'll take it one step deeper. When God formed Adam, our word tells us that he reached down, picked up a handful of dirt, blew into that dirt, and created Adam. So here's the deal. If the creator of the universe, which he is, if he literally reached down, scooped up a handful of dirt, and blew into that, think about that. When he formed Adam, he literally blew his DNA into man. And we're all descendants of Adam. So I will argue with you all day long. Creativity is inside of our DNA because God's DNA is inside of us. So if the creator of this universe blew into that dirt and created man, then we can tap into that very DNA that is inside of us. And maybe the biggest part of this, again, is embracing the fact, coming to grips with the fact that, you know what, we can be creative, and creativity can work in a lot of different ways. I've had some students, if you're listening, I'm not going to say who you are, but you're going to know who you are with what I'm fixing to say. But part of my job each week is, and I absolutely love when these opportunities arise. They have told me, in so many words that they are not creative individuals. Musically, we're talking here. And almost every week, a situation comes up in that lesson where I can prove to them with what they just did or what they just said, how creative that they actually are. So we've all got to come to the point and realize that creativity is 100% inside of us. For me, a little bit on my musical background, again, growing up in the house I grew up in, it really it wasn't an option. I was balanced on the piano bench, I believe, when I was 4. Dad set me there. And I have a sister. Her name's Gwen. Amazing sister. I love my sister. She's 2 years older than I am. And she again, if you were under that house, you did not, there wasn't an out. There wasn't an out. There was going to be a 30-minute piano lesson with Dad every week. And then hours and hours of practice that he made sure was taking place. But my lessons started this way. My sister went first. Her lesson was always before mine. And I generally passed my sister in the doorway on her way out, on my way in. And she was not in a good place. The expression on her face or the liquid running down her cheeks would have me scared to death to go in there for my lessons. My dad was a little more old school with his approach in teaching us. And listen, it worked for me. It did not necessarily work for my sister. And I think I knew from the get-go, it wasn't something I had to do. It was something I looked forward to doing. I loved music from the early age. However, starting at 4, by the time I was 14, having done this for 10 years, I didn't know that there was any other way to do music besides put the music in front of you, read it, and play it. By 10, at age 5, I fell in love with music theory, the rules, all of the form, the structure, why, the hows, all the explanation as to why music operates the way that it does with music theory. I absolutely, by 10, was just in love with theory. I looked forward to as much working the theory side of my lessons as I did actually playing the pieces and playing the songs. So, but here's the problem within that. By the time I was 14, I wasn't only just playing the piano, but I played the drums, I played the bass guitar, I was playing the guitar. And so I met some friends around my age, and they found out that I was musical, and they invited me over. They said, "Hey, come on, why don't you come over on Saturday and we'll jam." So listen, I was excited. It was a chance to get out with other people my age. By the time I was 14, we've talked about variety, and my dad really pushed that and instilled that in me. And so by the time I'm 14, I had learned there was more to life than Bach and Mozart and Beethoven. And so when I got with these friends, it was going to be an opportunity, to be with people more my age, maybe play more music that I wanted to be playing than what was being worked on in my lessons with my dad. So I'm like, sure, I'd love to do that. So I remember heading over to this friend's house, loading in all my gear and getting everything set up. And they were like, okay, let's play. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. And they're like, what? And I'm like, well, where's the music? And laughter began at that moment, except it wasn't me laughing. Listen, it was the hardest, but yet the most important day of my musical journey. I'll never forget it. It was humiliating, but also inspiring all at the same time. Here's what happened. I realized I had zero ear. I was so trained that all I could do was read music. I couldn't just play. I couldn't just play by ear. I couldn't be told, hey, we're in the key of G, let's go, G for go, let's play, let's have some fun. So the laughter, they were taken back. Well, I've heard you play. How in the world can you? And I'm like, well, I read. That's how I play. So luckily, these were some patient friends, and they worked with me. They helped me start and begin this journey. But here's what I had to do. And looking back, I see this as creativity. I had to undo everything that had been done through the training. And through the process, what I realized was I did have an ear. I just never really needed to approach music that way. So for me, it was backwards from most people that I've met since. Most people that I meet, I know musicians right now, great musicians that can't read a lick of music. And so for me, in my teaching now, it's a point of emphasis for me to make sure that I'm working with my students to read, because reading is vitally important. But along the way, I am showing them how to use the theory end of music to be at their advantage, number one, with their reading, but then secondarily, hey, here's the deposits that we have made. Now let's look and see what we can withdraw from that and what we can learn from that. So I work with my students on reading, but I also help them develop their ear. I tell my students this way with music theory. Music theory is just the rules of music. And I explain to them, sometimes we learn the rules to do what? To break the rules. So I have found the patterns and the shortcuts with my music through music theory. And I love teaching that way. I love helping, helping my students have that aha moment where they see, that it starts to click for them, and they understand how they can tap in to their music theory to help them play by ear. And I love teaching chords to my students. Lead sheets is kind of the best of both worlds. It's printed melody, but then we learn to improvise chords around that. So I think one of the things with being creative is this, like for me, I was kind of, up to 14, I was kind of in one lane. Everything was trained, classical music, read, play out of the hymn books. It was read. It was trained. And so 14 to 16, 2 hardest years of my musical journey. Why? Because I somewhat had to undo a lot that had been done. I recently talked to a young but amazing up-and-coming musician, and within those conversations, I was able to encourage them because I found out, you know what? They were where I was at 14. And so I'm going to be working with this individual over the next little bit to help show them the investments that they have made, how we, again, can make those deposits. We can make some withdrawals off of that and start to do things. So I think within the area of creativity, I think what's really, really important is knowing your lane. I live out northeast of Atlanta. The problem with traffic here, y'all, is people are in the wrong lane. Find the lane that you're supposed to be in, and you know what? Stay in your lane. We've talked variety. Now, here's the thing: if you come from a standpoint, if you really, really, really work in one area, and you somewhat start to excel in that area, then that is going to help you branch out to other things. So I like to teach it this way: stay in your lane, but make sure you have working turn signals so that when you do need to change, that you can. The classical world, again, that's kind of my background, how I grew up. Classical music is by the book. So through the years with our recording studio, looking back again to Dad's creativity, one thing, y'all, I believe composers may be the most creative out of all of us because of what they get to do, the opportunities that they have with composition to be creative, be it musical, be it with their lyrics. Creativity, I think, really is a huge part of our writers and our composers. And my dad, for 14 years, composed the Christmas cantata every year. He would write all of the songs. He would orchestrate them. We would bring in a live orchestra. And also he would write all the narration and all of that. My mom, here's where her creativity came beside my dad's. My mom excels. Her creativity is in decorating, and she would transform the sanctuary of the church every year into the theme of the cantata that my dad had written. So it was just kind of a neat 1-2 punch looking back. I guess the creativity inside of me came from both sides, from my mom and my dad, musically, but then mom was more of a visual aspect of things. And so those orchestras that we would have at those Christmas cantatas, man, they were by the book again. You put the music in front of them and they could read. Now, there is nothing wrong with that. Had I not, again, 14 to 16, 2 important years of my journey, and I would not be doing what I'm doing now had I look back and think, had I not branched out and kind of started to break that mold. However, a Harvard psychologist, I ran across this. His name's Howard Gardner. Howard Gardner emphasized the distinction between experts who pursue greatness in their domain and those seeking to challenge and change their domain. So there's one thing to be in your lane and strive for excellence in what you do, and that's important. Listen, that is kind of the brand here, the company line. We want to give our best back to God. So developing your growing, learning, expanding your music, expanding your creativity is how you can be excellent and giving that excellence back unto the Lord. So that's important. However, he also pointed out, Howard Gardner, that there's a difference between those experts who are pursuing greatness in their domain or their lane and those seeking to challenge and change the domain. So when I look back again on my journey, I find myself in this mix because here's the thing. Grew up with a lot of pressure. I am Charles Robert Novell II. I'm named after my father. And there were those who just simply expected me to be this great pianist and follow in my dad's footsteps. And here's the deal, y'all. I had to come to grips early with the fact I cannot wear my father's shoes. I literally cannot. He wore an 8. I wear a 10.5. So here's the thing. My dad excelled and really excelled in one lane. Now, Dad was versatile. However, where he really excelled, Dad fused classical and gospel together. Some of his arrangements, again, if you've not heard my father, look him up, listen to the creativity within his arrangements where he was really concentrating in one domain. I think looking back that my challenge and my drive has been to change the domain, to push the envelope and do things to concentrate on what was in front of me, but to be creative in the aspect of trying to change things. That's creativity right there. Just trying to be different is creative within itself. Creativity has a dualistic nature. Perhaps maybe the most well-accepted version of dualism is the 2 types of thinking required to be creative. Number 1 is what we call divergent thinking. It involves the ability to generate multiple ideas within certain parameters. That's what we commonly call brainstorming. Again, divergent thinking involves the ability to generate multiple ideas within certain parameters. For me, One of the things that I love to do is producing for artists. I love to get a raw demo, and I love to see the multiple paths that I could take direction wise that song down. That's where I truly get to, tap into my creativity until until maybe the artist is like, what in the world were you thinking? That's not going to work. No, it's through communication with my artist. I say, hey, I hear this idea. I think we could take things this direction. So that within that's what we commonly call brainstorming. I love getting to work that way. And then there's convergent thinking. On the other hand, it involves considering multiple ideas, revising and reworking them towards the best ultimate outcome. This could be considered the process of refining, editing, or workshopping ideas. So when we understand that creativity has a dualistic nature, there are kind of two sides to it. I think when we start to really dig down in and understand what creativity is, it's going to help us, again, find our lane, help us to stay within it. But staying in our lane is important, but making sure we have working turn signals so that when we can change lanes, we can do it safely and effectively. All right, so let's talk about 4 things today to help us continue to foster our creativity. We've kind of taken a deep dive into what creativity looks like. We've gotten pretty deep today with talking about a Harvard psychologist, Howard Gardner, emphasizing the distinction again between experts who pursue greatness in their domain and those seeking to challenge and change the domain. There's multiple ways and angles that we can be creative. And again, I believe if God created us, which he did, the creator of the universe, his DNA is inside of us. So we are already walking around as creative individuals. We just have to, sometimes it's just a mindset. It's a change. We have to get rid of our stinking thinking. We need a change, a mind shift, a mindset change in how we approach things. Hey everybody, Rob Novell with the Charles Novell School of Music. CNS 26 is already off and rolling. Will take place June 21st through the 27th at Bethel University in McKenzie, Tennessee. Registration opened August the 4th, and we're waiting on you. CNS is a place where you can develop your life, your music, and your ministry. Make plans now, save the date, and join us for CNS 26. Different ways that we can help foster our creativity. The first thing today, find your inspiration. What inspires you? Just truly, what is it that inspires you? One thing that we did this year in the Novell house, and I have noticed that it has helped kind of change the tone of 2025 for me. We love, back to my mom, that creative side of her, the decorator. That's something I've picked up from my mom. When Jen, my wife, when she came into the family, she thought we were absolutely crazy because when Christmas rolled around and she came over to the house during Christmas season, I grew up, the house looked like the mall. My mom would put up multiple trees. We didn't have a huge house, but there would be 6, 7, 8 trees, full-size trees in the house. Bedrooms, family rooms, living rooms, dining rooms, the music room, everywhere you look, there were trees. And I adapted that when I got married and we had our own home, and then the kids coming up, we put up multiple trees as well in our house. And for me, there is something very soothing, calming, inspiring about those lights on that Christmas tree. So we did something different this year. January has never been my favorite month, and this past year, I think I figured it out. I think when all, as big as Christmas was, I think when Mom took all that stuff down and packed it away and we put it in the basement, I think literally she boxed my soul up and put it away. And January was always a dark month because all those decorations that were so, brought so much joy into the home were all of a sudden gone. And I think once those disappeared, I kind of realized I was in the box with them. So this past year, we did something a little different here at our house. We left our tree up in our master bedroom. We have a sitting area off to the side of our bedroom with fireplace. We got a TV, a couch, and sitting chairs and things in there. So we left a tree up, and Jen has redecorated it at each season. I guess we kept it decorated with Christmas through January, mid-January or so, and then she decorated it for Valentine's Day, and then that came down and she decorated it for Easter, and then summer, and she's getting ready to put fall decorations on that tree, and then we'll be right there at the point for Christmas. So different times throughout this year. I'll sit in there, watch TV, have that tree lit, and man, just looking at it helps give me inspiration. It brings joy, peace, it's calming, it's soothing. So that is one little change, and within that change, what is that? That's a creative change that we've done in our house. So find your inspiration wherever it is. A lot of times your inspiration can come from things that you enjoy. That tree, it's been inspiration for me this year. Because that's something that we enjoy. The second thing I want to talk about today, and we talked about this last week, listening to music outside of your lane, outside of your domain. Again, it was classical for me when Dad started pursuing and pushing me to encouraging me to listen outside of the box. Listen, I love all genres of music, and here's the bottom line: if it can uplift the Lord, I believe that it can be a tool for ministry. Not everybody wants to hear Southern gospel music. Not everybody enjoys Southern gospel music. I love it. I'm a quartet man. I grew up with this music. But listen, it is not necessarily the favorite. When I met Jen, she had no idea what Southern gospel music was. I have indoctrinated her. I have brought her over to the to the good side. But listen, my kids, it's not necessarily their favorite music to listen to. They will listen to it, but they have other influences in their life. So, again, if it can uplift the Lord, you all, it can be a ministry tool. Not today's subject, but I will fight hard on different genres of Christian music, because I have seen it literally be the exact tool that God has used to save someone's soul. And so I'm not going to, we want to argue people getting saved. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that here. This is a safe place. But listen, get inspiration from other styles of music. It works. It happens. We really don't break this down, but within music theory, we have different elements in music. And my favorite element to music is rhythm. And I love the way I play is very rhythmic. And I have pulled from other lanes to bring into my domain to help me play from a place of creativity, because I am taking from one thing and bringing it into what I am working on in front of me. So listening to other genres of music, listen guys, it is huge in fostering your creativity. So don't be afraid to do that. Broaden your horizons. Get outside of, a box has four walls. It can't be these four walls and, these four and no more. We got to get outside. We got to bust those walls down. We need to do a Jericho march around that box, and after seventh trip around, scream real loud and watch those walls come down, because that is a huge way to help us foster creativity. The third thing today, music theory. Listen, music theory is vitally important. If you do not understand music theory and you're looking for new ways to be creative within your music, learn music theory. Learn music theory. And listen, it is so easy these days. Number one, we have books within our CNS teaching series within our teaching curriculum, we have music theory books. You can contact us. We can get you a copy of the book. We've got them in hard copy. We've got them in digital for all of you tablet and Kindle users out there. But no, in all seriousness, we can help you with a theory book. The other way that you can do this, listen, it is 2025. All you have to do is Google music theory. There are so many teaching avenues available and accessible to you to learn music theory. If you're listening to this podcast, that tells me you may listen to other podcasts. Search in your whatever platform you use to listen to podcasts, however you're listening to this today. If you get back to the homepage of that, there's a search feature. Simply type in music theory. Start listening to podcasts on music theory. Learning how music is formed can help you immensely in the area of creativity. I mentioned it earlier. I work with a lot of my students. We're working reading, or we're working learning to read, learning to play by ear. Within the ear side, when we get into that, it's all done through music theory. Music theory is patterns, it's rules, it's structure. When we start to see those, it develops shortcuts that we can use. So again, rhythm is my favorite element within music. I have taken music from other genres and applied it into my compositions or arrangements or what it is that I'm working on, and that has strictly been done through the avenue of music theory. So music theory, vitally important. Last thing I want to talk today, get with someone to help you. Look, I've had to realize it multiple times in my life. This will preach all day long spiritually. I know when Rob gets out of the way and quits trying to figure things out on his own, when I'm like, okay, God, I need your help. Y'all, he's really good at his job if we get out of the way and allow him to do it. The last thing I'll leave off with today, over the last couple of weeks, I've talked. August, y'all, just kind of wasn't a good month. August became my January this year. Lots of things happened. Things breaking in the house and bills piling up and repair bills piling up and up and up. And then I've mentioned the car situation. Well, yeah, that really didn't come out the way that I was hoping it would. We had to go and say goodbye to one car and say hello to a new car for the Novell driveway, just literally today. And here's the thing. I've shared with two people this week, the last 3 weeks for me have truly been a test of patience and trust. And we won't, I'm just touching on this today, but trying to improve in the point. The last 2-3 weeks, Rob had to get out of the way. I'm a fix-it guy. I like to fix things, and I had to get out of the way today and realize, over the last 3 weeks, I had to get out of the way and realize I can't do this on my own. God, I need your help. And again, we're not going to dig into it, but God showed up in such an amazing way today to kind of make sense of the last 3 weeks. And he's Jehovah Jireh, our provider, and he absolutely showed up in an amazing way to bless the Novells today. And so I'm not going to end this without giving him credit and giving credit where credit is due. Now, circling back around to our final thing in fostering creativity today. Get with someone to help you. That's what CNS is here for. We have a thing called creative coaching. I work with, I teach virtually with 8 students a week that are in 7 different states. So the excuse of we can't get together, no, we can help you virtually. So visit us. Come to one of our regionals. We have 2 coming up this fall, one in October, one in November, Arkansas and Ohio. You heard that intro at the beginning of today's podcast. But get with someone that can help you. There are local music stores with teachers that could help you in this area of being creative and helping you foster your creativity. Okay, so again, I mentioned last week when we touched on creativity that we may break this down into a couple. So I did want to follow back up again with kind of the part two to fostering creativity today. And hopefully we gave you some tips that if you put into practice, you're going to find out that it's going to make today become your best day yet. You all be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Charles Novell School of Music podcast, The Best Day Yet. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter under the name the Charles Novell School of Music. And for more information on CNS and our upcoming events, like our online school, our weekend regional sessions, our creative coaching, and our pastor's retreat, you can visit us at our website at www.cnsmusic.com. As you've listened to this episode, we hope that you've gained some information that you can apply to your music and to your ministry to make today the best day yet.